guys, I got a bunch of stories to cover today. 2.5 seconds or less, Tua, question mark. Lazy DBs, according to what we've heard through a second person from what Fangio thought about the Dolphins DBs, not really working hard enough and being lazy. And then I'm going to do a back-end part, a few things that I'm hearing from the media, just get into some of the media stuff. Not that I'm perfect in any way, shape, or form. You guys know that. My wife will tell you that. But some people just starting to get on my nerves. And not to say I still like them, but I don't know where they're coming from. So I'm going to get into that. Now, Friday, I'm going to do my live again to make up for what I missed last week. Sorry about that again. We'll go over where the Dolphins are. I'm going to have two viewers on to show up, and they'll talk about their part, what they think, what they see. Anybody else wants to come on, you are welcome. I don't care if you're in opposition to what I think or whatever. I believe in dialogue and discussion, and you know, if something's true, it will stand to fire. So if you want to, come on, let me know. And contact me at curtis@aceperhead.com, and you can come on, whatever you want to do. So that'll be that. So I'm also... I'm going to be going away on a business vacation, so I'm not going to be doing much. And then when I come back, I do the Super Bowl, a little bit there, and then I'm going on a 2-week vacation. So these are maybe I have 4 or 5 of these things left before I take my vacation. So that's it, guys. Now, I want to get into the first thing. I saw an article from Barry Jackson talking about Tua at 2.5 seconds plus. And, you know, there's issues there. He's not as successful as some of these other top quarterbacks. And so it was a talking point. And I think it's a fair talking point, but only when you add in the context of, obviously, you know what I'm talking about, the offensive line. You know, to me, it's a little curious that it's kind of, some people talk about something, and then the very thing that would help legitimize or maybe add context or even put an opposition where somebody could choose the left or right, it doesn't seem to be there. So you can see this graphic right here. This is Chris Kaufman's brilliant summation and evaluation of the Dolphins' 2023 offensive line. The worst in 9 years, pro set pass blocking grade. That means how well they actually block, not with protection and quick, you know, all this other stuff. You can see that I don't know where the Bengals are in 2021 during this period, but even if they're the next one up, it's substantially 2 or 3% higher. But I'm going to show you the context between both these offensive lines, because I heard somebody say, and I think it was a good point for study, but ultimately it proved to be invalid, is, hey, look, Joe Burrow took a terrible offensive line and took them to the Super Bowl. Why couldn't Tua? Well, let's take a look here. Burrow in 21, we know it was a terrible offensive line. He got the snot beat out of him. The Super Bowl ended with him getting hurt, you know, as if like cherry on top. So you can see his clean percentage is 65.7, which was 10% less than ours. So that puts to the Dolphins' favor. But if you look, the time to throw is 2.26, 8% higher, more time in the clean throws than Tua. And if you factor in the 10%, it's still higher. Blockers per pass, BPP, which is my created stat, they had 5.6 on the season, and they used 5% less blockers to get their protection, as you see down below. Blitz, they were 26.4, which was more than Tua. Time to throw in those blitzes, 2.41, 15% higher. Play actions called, only 19%, 11% less. Play actions are used to create protection by putting bodies in the way, and it's a way to mask. You want to try to get the defense to bite, but it's also a way to create protection. Now, pass attempts, 662, which was 62 more than Tua. Intended air yards, 8.1, which was 0.4 yards more than Tua. And then caught air yards, 6.4, which was 0.1 more than Tua. Now, Tua 23, clean percentage, 75%. Now, it was a lot cleaner. You could say, well, the offensive line was giving him protection, but it came out at 2.09 seconds. And when you factor the Chris Kaufman analytics there, you understand why. It was forced. It wasn't like, hey, we need to do this. It's like, we must do this. It's not like we want to do this. It's like, we better do it or we're going to get ourselves in big trouble. Now, time to throw, like I said, is 2.09, 8% blockers per pass, 5.98, 5% more blockers than that Cincinnati offensive line. Blitz, 22.9, which was higher than the blitz rate of Burrow by like 3%. And then the blitz time to throw, 2.09. The clean and the blitz is the same, and that does not happen anywhere else, ladies and gentlemen, except here in Miami. And that's not a good thing. Minus 15%. Minus 15% is not good. Okay, 15%. Play action, 30% more, 30% total, 11% more protection, and then 600 less passes, intended air yards. They went down from last year. Part of that is in the reduction of the time to throw. Last year was 2.6 overall. This was 2.3. 7.7. Caught air yards about the same, 6.3 and 6.4. But when you factor in how bad that line was, and then you factor in how they were able to run between the tackles, and we weren't, I can get into the whole thing, but I'm not going to get into here, then you factor all these percentage differences, it's clear. Now, Burrow hung in the pocket. Burrow, to me, is a better quarterback than Tua. And, you know, he processes better. He's bigger. I don't know what Tua will be down the road, and I don't know what Burrow will be down the road. Burrow might end up being out of the league, like Luck. But a lot of that had to do with the offensive line did give them better protection. And however you slice it, with a little bit, I don't know where since he is on that graph, but their true pass set protection was better, and that's why they didn't need so many blockers per pass. Now, our blockers really failed in their true set protection, and that's why you had to bring more bodies. And so, if you want to talk about Tua, I'm not saying Tua is the guy for us, and I'm not saying he's not. I see traits. I got to see him going to big time. Look at Purdy. Purdy took him to the top, and he probably has less overall key traits than Tua. He doesn't have the speed to throw. He's not as big, and he's not as mobile. Well, maybe he is. Maybe he's a little bit more mobile. He's healthier, so maybe, I don't know. But I think Tua's elite release is the highest trait between the two quarterbacks. But they had balance. They were able to run inside, as I've shown, outside, and then they got a better offensive line. Not much better, but better. So I think that when you talk about Tua, you cannot say he is our guy because you don't know what he's going to do in the fire. You don't know what he's going to do if he gets the right framework. But you clearly say that the framework has held him back. And any discussion about Tua, just with any quarterback, has to go marriage of the O-line. As example, Marino, pretty good quarterback, right? Dwight Stevenson. Dwight Stevenson gets the cheap shot and is out. And there was a gulf between what the offensive lines were like until Webb and Sims. And then Marino went, whoop, whoop. Offensive line makes the NFL world go round. It's basic. It's basic. So now I'm going to get into the thing that came out, supposedly. Fangio hasn't said anything, but we heard from Ron Jaworski, who's friends with Fangio, about our lazy, quote-unquote, DBs. So before I get into that, though, guys, the likes, the subscribes, the comments, the views, all that stuff keeps his channel in action. It just doesn't happen without that. So I appreciate all you guys are doing. Please subscribe, like, and comment. I love the comments. So I want to give you a shout out and a shout out to A's per Head. Without the two of you, the show ain't going down. Ace Per Head's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. All right, so it's become chic to start riding on Fangio. He was totally the problem. He was genius coming in here, and then bad week one, he totally sucked. And then by the end of the season, this guy really did a good job. And then when he left, he never wanted to be here, and he was an idiot. Thank God he's gone. Omar Kelly, who I have a ton of respect for, we agree. Fangio and his kind are being phased out of the NFL. Either adopt or be sent into retirement. That sounds like more like compromise, go with the flow, and be part of the herd than anything. his kind that revolutionized the NFL, his kind of coaching is what the entire history of the NFL has been based around. Now, I'm not saying Fangio is, Mr. Laughs, and maybe he didn't need to change a little bit, but this talk is so stupid. Omar Kelly used to be the guy who would say what needed to be said, and I know how tough it is because now it's my role. I had tons of respect for him, but somewhere he has become go with the flow guy rather than stand up for what's true. Now, I don't know if these DBs were working hard enough or not. I don't know. We don't know. No one's ever going to know. Only they're going to know, and the people that were there are going to know. But look at these DBs' production. Throughout Fangio's career, he's had success. He said sex. Throughout Fangio's career, he's had success in stopping the pass. But he comes here, and X and Ramsey were top 6 and 7 in most directed TD catches from a cornerback. Not so hot. When you showed the film throughout the season, you could see player-driven failure was massive. Take a look at, you can see here, Ramsey's cover grades. Those weren't commensurate with being a Hall of Fame cornerback, right? So he had room to grow. Let's take a look at X's cover grades. Those are not the kind of cover grades that you would say are commensurate with the pay he's getting and his ability. Would you? Now, Kohu took a beating, and he did. He struggled with Baltimore and Buffalo. But again, better than those two. I don't know if Kohu liked him or not or whatever. Then there's Cam Smith. Cam Smith couldn't get on there. It's an intellectually driven offense. You got to be on your game. I don't know, but I know that success rate isn't good. I know that something wasn't jiving. I know that they're getting paid. They're getting billed as starters. The production has to be better than that. I know the film said they made tons of mistakes, bad reads, bad swaps, bad choices. Is it just Fangio? And if the Ramsey, who's a Hall of Famer, who had complaints everywhere he went, actually forced his way out of Jacksonville, did he have to sit and look at his film and say, hey, I made a mistake and didn't want to admit? I don't know. But I know that's not good enough. I don't know if they're lazy. I don't know if they gave their best. It's a complicated system. Fangio was asked to come in here by Greer and McDaniel to implement his system, and everybody knew what it was, and bring him in who everybody knew who he was. And whose fault is that? If you have DBs that either A, don't want to do it or can't do it. I don't know. But I know that's not good enough. I know that Fangio is going to go to Philly and it's going to be a lights out defense. What happens when he has a lights out defense? I don't know. I don't know if they're lazy. I think that when you go back, you saw that Rashad Jones, when Flores was here, was griping and being a cancer in the locker room. And all of a sudden, Micah Fitzpatrick, a rookie, second-year rookie, said, I ain't doing that job. And then we ship him out. No, you sit there. I got your contract. Don't play this year. You'll be here next year for the same length of your contract. Do what we tell you. It's a job. This is a job. You get paid millions. Yeah, you sacrifice your body. You playing a game you love. Do your job. The kind of coach, so the GM and the players get to override the coaches, or do the players get to override the coaches and the GM? I respect Holland, Ramsey, X, Kohu. Getting paid millions. Do your job to your best of your ability. And you know what? Why don't you step up and say, we weren't good enough? I don't know. Pretty ridiculous. All right, so last part here, guys. We hear all kind of stuff. I'm going to get into who said it and whatever. What the talk is now is the offensive line was no good this year, worse than 9 years because of injuries. Well, we had 11, 12 iterations, for 13, and Greer will say the same thing. Okay, let's go with that. right here is a graphic. Eichenberg, Jackson, and Armstead. All three of them are going to be main fixtures this year. Eichenberg. Did he get better? He had one good game. He's going to be here next year. I'd say he's probably going to be a starter. Maybe not. Hope not. Jackson. Sorry, Jackson. Pro Bowl player here. Does that look like Pro Bowl grades? Not 2 good games. He's going to be your right tackle, 100%. Tehran. He had 1 bad game. All the rest were good games. Injured. His whole body's broken apart. So if you want to say, oh, well, Eichenberg wasn't feeling good and Jackson wasn't feeling good. Dude, I don't know if I could play with those injuries. But you look at Armstead, who's got, triple the ones they got, and look at his production compared to theirs. And so next year, you'll have Armstead back with all his injuries. I don't know if he'll be this good, better, or whatever. But then you'll have these guys. And they played a major part. You had your last game of the year. You had Hunt in there, who played pretty well, was a starter. And Eichenberg's a 2nd and 3rd round pick. And he's going to be a major fixture next year. Jackson, who's your starter, and you had 1 bad left guard. Look at KC. They went against the Ravens. Thuney was down. They had 2 bad, Taylor and Smith, who were bad tackles, and they had Humphreys and Smith, Yellowsmith, I think, inside. That was it, 2. And they won. But it's all about, the backups, who's going to be the starters. And we had 3 starters in that game. 3 starters. So what was the excuse? I don't know. Anyway, so we can turn some of this stuff around. You're going to need a lot of pieces. I'll get into that on Friday. You have no edge players going into the season. None. How can you sign? Oh, maybe you could sign Van Ginkel, but if you don't sign Van Ginkel, you think you'd be able to sign Wilkins and Hunt? I don't think so. Maybe you could tag them, but I go through the numbers. It's going to lock it into this season. And it's very difficult. If they had the free agency, I don't think any of them coming back. So you got no edge players. You got 1 DT, 1 safety. Offensive line needs major help. You need some 3rd receiver. A lot of stuff to get, And then even if you go, okay, you know what? We'll sign Wilkins. Maybe we'll get VG back. You're really stretching it. I'm already stretching it, but I think you can Hunt too. You only have 2 picks, and where's the extra money coming from? And if you don't get Hunt and you got that extra money, you have to draft guys, and then draft the guys, as we know, especially the offensive line and DT position, take a year or 2 to marinate. Sewell's been in his 3rd year. His first year was a disaster, and this guy's a top 10 pick. I mean, elite talent. It's going to be very tough at 24. I think we can do it. There's ways, but come on, guys. It's got to be realistic. Some of these guys out here, I know, I can get how tough it is. I'm a little thing over here, just a little job. And, people, you say the truth, like with the offensive line, or, no one came back really and said, hey, you know what? How did you know that this offensive line was garbage? I'm sorry for saying all those hateful things to you. So it's very hard for these big guys who have to generate big numbers. They got big pressure. But at a certain point, it's just letting the fan base down. So anyway, guys, I'll try to do my best going forward. Curtis saying, catch you next time. Be well. Go Fins. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.